Hello everyone, this is Kat. Welcome back to My Hero Academia Podfic. This will be the continuation of Hidden Messages. This will be Part 13, Chapter 13, entitled New Assignment. Time passed by quickly, and before Izuku knew it, it was the last day of classes before the week of work studies. Izuku had been grateful to have already a placement the last few weeks, as the majority of his class was struggling to find one. Some people like him and Shinzo didn't have any issues. Kirishima was staying with Fatcom, and Uraraka and Sue were staying with Ryuku. Tokiyami was continuing with Hawks, and Todoroki agreed to work with Endeavor, even though Izuku had advised against it. Majority of the class had a much harder time. Katsuki had to talk to a lot of people before Todoroki finally got him in with Endeavor. Todoroki said something about it would be more bearable doing his work study with a friend, and then Katsuki almost blew him up for insinuating that they were friends. They are friends, but Katsuki is barely comfortable calling his close friends his friends. There was no way he would admit to Todoroki that he was actually his friend. Besides, Todoroki seems to like that Katsuki won't admit it. Izuku's pretty sure that Todoroki finds it amusing to get Katsuki to blow up, and that's a surefire way to do it. Yaoyorozu was struggling more than most, but that was because she was so worried about how her internship went, and she didn't want to go through that again. She had to make sure that she actually learned something more than how to pose in front of a camera. After a while of looking, she came to Izuku for help. The whole class was well aware at this point that if you want to know anything about heroes, Izuku's the one to ask. It was a little embarrassing at first, being known as the resident fanboy, but once he realized how much he could help people, he didn't mind. She asked which hero would be best for him to work with, and Izuku already had an answer ready. He told her that she already seemed to have a handle on creating things, but she should look more into the eating requirement of her work. Fat Gum would be a great mentor because of that, especially with Amajiki there. They might be able to help her figure out different foods that affect her quirk differently. She was grateful for his advice, and within a few days of their conversation, she had confirmed a work study with Fatcom. Once everyone in class had finalized where they would do their work studies, there was an energy that wouldn't go away. All of them were anxious and excited, and they were worried about how it would go, while being excited for the opportunity to do hero work as well. That energy made it so that no students really were paying much attention in class, but the announcement Friday morning before the week of work studies got their attention quickly. Aizaw stood at the front of the class and started talking, and that anxiety level in the room skyrocketed. I've noticed that all of you have become distracted during class this week because of your upcoming work studies, rather than to waste everyone's time with your lessons since no one's listening. Today, all classes except for Foundational Heroics are canceled. Instead, your Heroics lesson will span the entire day. Excited whispers broke out, but Aizawa ignored them and continued. Today, you'll be doing another version of the communication assignment. However, to make it more interesting, the lesson will be done jointly with Class B. We will be meeting up with them in a moment to discuss the details of the assignment, but first I'd like to make it clear that this is not a competition between the classes. Unlike the joint training that we did a while back, no class will be announced as the winner. Do not refuse working with them because they are from a different class. More whispers broke out. Everyone was trying to figure out what that meant for the assignment if they weren't competing with Class B. Abruptly, Aizawa walked to the door. Get changed into your hero costumes and meet me at Gym Gamma. As the class rushed to grab their costume cases and make their way to the gym, Izuku clicked to start a conversation with Katsuki. What do you think the assignment's going to be? How the fuck would I know? I wasn't expecting you to know. I was just asking for your speculation. Well, I've got no clue. I'm not looking forward to working with the extras in the other class, though. Yeah, I'm not either. They don't seem to like me much. They just don't like you. They absolutely hate me. That's your own fault, Kachan. I know. Kachan, if we can, do you want to work together? What the fuck? Was that not already a given? No shit, of course I'll fucking work with you, Deku. Katsuki walked away from Izuku as they entered the locker room to change, ending their conversation. Izuku changed into his costume with a smile on his face. Katsuki wanted to work with him. And Izuku followed his classmates and the Class B students into Gym Gamma, expecting to find it empty, but it wasn't. Aizawa, Vlad King, and All Might stood in front of a series of small rooms, in the only open space in the gym. They all formed a large group in front of their teachers. After a few minutes, Aizawa got the group's attention. As you all know, we'll be doing another version of the communication assignment. We'll get into what exactly that entails in a moment, after which you'll have an hour to strategize, and then you'll head toward Ground Beta, where the actual exercise will take place. Vlad King stepped forward and held up a card with some writing on it. Each of you is going to get a card with 3 things written on it. It'll have the location of an object, something you have to find, and an action. The goal is to survive until the end with your top ally while getting a good score. Scoring is divided into multiple parts. All Might stepped forward. First is the object. Each person will have an object they need to find, and the location to someone else's object. To get full points on the object part, you must find your object. If you still have the object by the end, you receive extra 10 points. Each object has a number on it. If you find something that doesn't have the exact number on it, then it doesn't count. It is recommended that you reach out to other people or to find some way to get the location of the object that you're looking for. You could theoretically search it with no information, but many of the objects are small, and ground beta is very large. The section is scored out of 20 points, with the potential to get up to 30. You can also earn points by collecting objects that are not your own and holding them until the end. You'll receive extra 5 points for every object that you have at the end of the assignment. If you are removed holding the object, you'll keep the object as well. However, if someone takes it before the announcement of your removal is over, it is theirs. Vladkin continued. The next part is the action. Some actions are things that require help from others. Other actions are going to require turning against others. To get points on this section, you must complete your action. You'll also be graded on the quality of your action. For example, if your action is to do a dance, you'll be graded on how much effort you put in. Just swaying would earn you a lower grade than doing a full-on choreographed number. Before any of you start dancing, know that's not an actual action task. Some actions require objects. The number of each object needed is listed with the action. You can earn up to 40 points in this section. Aizaw spoke next. Another part, possibly the most complicated part, is your allies. At the beginning, you'll be asked who your top ally is. This person is the one person that you trust and that you completely want to expect will help you, and you'll help them. If you and your top ally list each other, you'll both get an extra 10 points. At the end of the exercise, you will also get extra points depending on when they're removed from the assignment. Anyone who lists the first person removed as their top ally gets 0 points, while anyone who lists someone that is never removed gets 10. It is at the end of the assignment that scoring for this gets complicated. After the assignment's over, you'll be asked to list who you gave help to as well as who you received help from. These people are considered your allies. Your top ally is already assumed to be in both of these categories, so you don't need to list them again. You may list as many people as you would like to, but be careful. You can receive negative points depending on how they are listed and whether or not they list you. Also, if someone helped you and you helped them, you may list them in both categories. This is where the communication aspect of the assignment comes into play. I will not go over how it is scored in detail. You will be given a handout with all the information we list here and a chart to go over the grading process for your allies. However, I will say that you will gain points if your account agrees with your allies. If they disagree, however, the scoring depends on how they disagree. The way to earn points in this section with disagreeing accounts is to get help from someone without them knowing. For example, finding out their hint without them knowing, and leading someone to believe that you are their top ally when you're not. Being on the opposite ends of these situations will lose you points. Be honest when listing your allies. However, you do not need to list someone as having helped you if you believe that they had an overall negative effect. Izuku was getting more and more excited the more that was said about this new assignment. It sounded complicated, but it also looked like it would be fun, or at least interesting. Looking around, he could see that some people agreed with him, but the majority of the students around him looked overwhelmed. Not wasting any time, All Might continued. The next part is your survival. You'll need to be scored on how long you survive. This will be scored similarly to your ally survival, except the top score will be 20 points. Finally, you'll be scored on how many people you remove. To be removed from the game, you'll have to be put in a situation where you would be dead if real weapons were being used. You will have access to paintball guns, fake knives that leave paint marks when enough pressure is applied to break skin, paint grenades, and other fake weapons. Some actions require you to remove other people from the game, but otherwise you'll get 3 points per person you remove. Also, important to note, to strangle someone, you need to have a hold of their neck for 5 seconds. Please do not actually strangle anyone. The teachers will have the final say on whether or not someone is considered removed. Every removal will be announced so that everyone will hear who's been removed and what number they were. Aizawa spoke once more. Points can be removed at any point by any teacher if they believe that you are not following the spirit of the assignment, or if you're using excessive force. Not following the spirit of the assignments could be continuing to participate after being removed, or if your list doesn't reflect the allies that you actually had during the assignment, whether that was because you didn't list people you should have, or you listed people you shouldn't have. That being said, you can still list someone you removed as an ally. However, that might not be the wisest choice. The assignment ends when all students are removed except one, or potentially 2 students if their top ally is each other. If the exercise is going on too long, we might end it early, but for the sake of scoring, let's hope that doesn't happen. Whispers broke out as the teachers finished their explanations. Izuku was about to start a silent conversation with Katsuki when he heard a familiar click. "We're going to be each other's top ally." Katsuki didn't ask. It was a statement. "Okay." Izuku couldn't hold back the grin. "Who else?" Katsuki started to ask something, but All Might began talking again. "Are there any questions?" As All Might asked, Aizawa and Vlad King had started handing out the papers with instructions. "Can you expand on how 2 people might remain instead of just 1? Kendo from Class B spoke up. All Might answered. "Yes, it was mentioned a moment ago that we can remove points if we feel like you aren't following the spirit of the assignment. One thing we will remove points for is removing your top ally. Therefore, if the final 2 people are mutual top allies, they will not be required to remove each other. If either of them didn't list the other as a top ally, then they'll be expected to remove the other student." Some students looked worried at the new information. It would be devastating to be one of the last 2 students remaining, thinking you were fine because you listed the other person as your top ally, only for them to remove you, because they didn't list you as theirs. The room went silent for a moment as everyone looked over to the assignment handout. After a few moments, Ida spoke up. "To remove someone, do we have to use one of the fake weapons? Many of us have quirks that could be used to seriously injure or kill someone. Would we be able to use our quirks somehow? Also, do we have to mimic killing someone, or could someone be removed by arresting them?" Aizawa grinned at the question. "I was hoping that someone would ask that. All Might already went over how to remove people using weapons and strangulation, but those aren't the only ways. You can illustrate that you could have used your quirk to take them out. For example, Ida, you could aim a high-powered kick at someone's head, but hit the wall instead at the last second to show that you would have taken them out. However, if you choose this option, be careful. If you actually hurt anyone, there will be consequences. In addition to that, someone can be removed by being captured for 15 minutes. Captured in this instance means that they cannot get free using their own power. This will be the equivalent of being arrested. Another option is being forced out of ground beta. Leaving the grounds counts as an automatic removal. No matter what option is used, as All Might mentioned earlier, we, the teachers, have final say on whether someone is removed or not." A few more students asked questions, but they were all just having the teachers repeat something that they had already said, so Izuku turned his attention back to Katsuki. He had an idea of what he wanted to do, but he needed Katsuki to agree. First, though, he wanted to know what Katsuki was about to say before they were distracted. He clicked and immediately started his message, knowing that Katsuki would listen. "What were you saying earlier?" "Oh, I was asking who else we should trust." "Oh, actually, that's something I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think about acting like we aren't working together?" "What the fuck, Deku? We just agreed to be each other's top allies." "I know, and we will be, but I kind of want to destroy the competition, and the best way to do that would be to let other people think that we are working with them when we aren't." "Damn, nerd, I'm listening." "Okay, so here's what I'm thinking." Izuku filled Katsuki in on his plan, finishing explaining it as the teachers finished answering questions. "If you come up with any more questions during this time before the assignment officially starts, feel free to ask. As we mentioned earlier, you'll have an hour to strategize. The first half of that time will be before you get your card with the tasks, and we'll make an announcement to meet back here to get your card, but until then you have free reign of the gym." Cementos was nice enough to create these structures so you can have some conversations in more private settings. Aizawa looked at the clock on the wall. "Your hour starts now." Almost immediately, chaos broke out. Everyone was yelling over each other, trying to make alliances, but that didn't last long. "What do you mean you don't want to work with me?" Izuku yelled at Katsuki over the noise, while forcing tears out. "Why the fuck would I want to work with you, Deku?" Katsuki yelled back, allowing small explosions to escape from his palms. The chaos around them started to quiet as people started to watch the fight. "But Kachan, we worked together on the other assignments. I thought we were doing better. I thought we were friends again." Izuku let his volume slowly lower as the sound around them quieted. "We were never friends. You were always such a damn Deku following me around. I couldn't talk my way out of working with you before, but I'm not going to work with you now." But Kachan... "Just fucking leave me alone. Keep following me around just pretending that we're fucking friends, but we aren't. You're fucking annoying, so fucking whiny, and you cry at nothing all the damn time. See, you're even fucking crying now." Sure enough, Izuku had started to transition from forcing out a few tears to full-on crying. "I put up with your bullshit for years now, but I'm fucking done. You follow me all the way to fucking UA, all damn places, but you are not allowed to follow me anymore. Good luck doing well on this assignment without my help. Not going to be telling all the answers this time, Deku. Now fuck off." Katsuki stomped off, but not before clicking once. Izuku noticed Aizawa hide a smile in his scarf once he heard the click. He forced himself not to smile when he heard Katsuki's message. "Don't ever stop following me, nerd. You got that?" "But Kachan, I thought I was leading this time." "Oh, fuck off. Doesn't matter who's leading or who's following. Just don't fucking leave." "Okay, Kachan. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Now let's destroy these assholes. After they set the students loose to strategize, Aizaw started walking to the side of the gym with Vlad King and All Might. They had cameras set up in every room to get an idea of who was working together, but no one had left the main section yet, so there was no point going into the room for the camera feed just yet. Before they could get very far, though, yelling caught their attention. Midori was yelling about Bakugo not wanting to work with him, and Bakugo was yelling back, denouncing their entire friendship. Aizawa was only slightly worried. Bakugo was harsh, but he had seen the tapes from middle school. He knew their story. This was most likely some elaborate plan that they had. And honestly, he would be lying if he said that he wasn't excited to see how it would all play out. Should we step in? Vlad King turned to Aizawa, deferring to their homeroom teacher. Aizawa took a moment to look between the two men he was standing with. Vlad King looked concerned, but All Might was who really caught his attention. He looked disturbed by the whole situation, completely heartbroken. Aizawa was abruptly reminded of the fact that while All Might had been a witness to their current friendship, he wasn't there to hear their history. He only knew what Midoriya or Bakugo had decided to tell him, and from the looks of it, they hadn't told him anything. They're fine, Aizawa said as soon as he heard Bakugo's click. He had to hide his face in his scarf to hide his grin as he continued walking toward the monitor room. All Might and Vlad King both turned to look at him and follow him as well. But how can you know that? All Might asked as they reached the door. Aizawa waited to answer until they were inside the monitor room, with the door closed behind them. Bakugo and Midoriya have an interesting history. They also have a secret language that only they can understand. After their argument, Bakugo clicked. That's the indication for the other to look at their messages to each other. I'm confident that this is all part of their plan. But shouldn't we at least try to make sure that Midoriya's okay? He looks so heartbroken, and Bakugo said some very nasty things. All Might started to move back toward the door. No. Midoriya probably came up with the whole thing. He has a habit of coming up with much worse things for Bakugo to have said before. Aizawa brushed him off, turning toward the screens. Worse? All Might whispered. Wait, back up. You found out how they were communicating? Vlad King interjected, looking shocked. Aizawa turned back toward the other teachers. Nezu and I were able to get them to tell us. However, neither of us have been able to figure out a single message between them. But I believe that I may be getting closer. Nezu scared all of them when he popped out from the ceiling. What? Did you really expect me to miss out on watching this assignment? Nonsense. Nezu grinned. Now, who are they teaming up with? All right, everyone. This concludes Chapter 13 of Hidden Messages. Chapter 14 will be next. I hope you guys are still enjoying, and as always, thank you all so much for listening.